Good evening, everyone. I'm Sheriff Grady Judd. I'm so thankful you're here tonight to help those in our community who are working toward a new and better life. The men and women who volunteered their time through Heart for Winter Haven are ensuring God's will is done in the lives of those throughout this county, and I'm so thankful for the work they do. We're so blessed to have Heart for Winter Haven provide the tools and opportunities needed to improve the lives of those who need it most. Heart for Winter Haven has partnered with us at the Sheriff's Office to make a positive difference in the lives of inmates we're responsible for. My personal goal is to give inmates a key. No, not the key to get out of the jail, but the key to stay out of jail. The key to succeed is based in the community. When an inmate chooses to spend time at our jail, we provide them with opportunities they can use. If they choose to take advantage of them, they'll do well to help them become a productive citizen instead of returning to the same life that got them locked up in the first place. And Heart for Winter Haven makes the difference. They have the same mission and they offer programs to provide these opportunities. Programs like Life from the Heart with real-life job training for incarcerated men and women. We want these individuals to return to our cities with the tools to help them become successful, law-abiding citizens of our community, to look out for their community and their family, to be able to contribute, to be a good neighbor, and to make great choices. The partnership between the Sheriff's Office and Heart for Winter Haven is one that allows our community to prosper. We invite you to join us in this service to make Winter Haven better every day. I encourage you to give of your time, your money, and your resources to help this cause and the positive impact they have on our citizens. If you're able to give monetarily, that's great. They can also use your time if you'll volunteer. Or always pray for this awesome organization and the great men and women who make it work. You are part of the change in Polk County, the change that keeps us safe, the change that creates community. And community involvement means the success and growth of this program and the stability of Polk County. Thank you, Heart for Winter Haven, for your partnership. Together, we all are making a positive difference. God bless you all.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you to the catering company. Thank you to all the volunteers back here, everyone picking up the plates and helping us get seated. I am Joe Simonds, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is my very first time being an MC, and well, I wouldn't clap just yet, guys. We're not through the night. I called my buddy Ryan, who I know has done quite a bit of MC work, and I told him what I committed to be doing here tonight, and the first thing out of his mouth was, this is really what he said. He goes, "You idiot." He goes, "Why did you agree to do that? That's one of the hardest jobs ever, and it's a lose-lose situation." And I go, "What do you mean it's a lose-lose situation?" He goes, "Well, what do you think happens if you absolutely just get up there and bomb?" And I was like, "Well, obviously it could ruin the night. I'd feel bad and probably go home and be sad." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, what happens if you go up there and crush it?" And well, the opposite, right? Everyone wins, and we high five and get to go home feeling good, and it's a fun night. And he's like, "Well, you're missing one important thing." He goes, "If you go out there and crush it, they're going to ask you to do it again next year, and the next year, and the next year." He's like, "That's why I do so many MC events. It's just a vicious cycle." He's like, "So the goal is not to be up here or down here, just kind of here, just good." So the biggest compliment is just, "Joe, you did good. You did okay." I'd be completely fine with that. So I am Joe Simonds, grew up here in Winter Haven. Of course, my mom's over here laughing at me. Grew up here in Winter Haven and graduated from Winter Haven High School, like probably some of you in here, and immediately left to go to Atlanta, Georgia, to go to Georgia Tech, and I had zero intention, yes, in Yellow Jacket here, zero intention of really ever coming back. And met this beautiful girl here in the front row from Savannah, Georgia, and we got married and we moved to Austin, Texas. We had this dream of, being in some fun cities like Austin, and it was great. And I remember one time we went to go see my parents, and they were in the Blue Ridge Mountains, somewhere like in Blue Ridge, Georgia, and they had their friends, Squire and Pumpkin Smith. I know a lot of you probably know them here. And I remember Squire, we were having dinner, and he says, Joe, he goes, you've been gone from Winter Haven a long time. You know, what are the chances of you coming back? And I sat there and I thought about it for a second, and I go, Uncle Squire, there is absolutely zero chance I'm coming back. You couldn't pay me enough money to come back to Winter Haven, and I meant it. And a year later, we moved from Austin to Houston. We had our first child there, and a lot of you parents out here know when you have a child, things change. Your priorities change. Your look on life changes. And I still don't want to come back to Winter Haven yet, but we were raising our daughter in Houston and kind of just, learning the ropes of being a parent and finding out, hey, there's some things we have to put first if we're going to be a family. And then we moved. My wife got a job in Atlanta, Georgia. They recruited her there, and we got a new house and another new child. So now 2 children, 2 big cities that we thought were going to be pretty cool in our 20s. We were like, oh man, Austin and Houston and now Atlanta. And so now we're moving to Atlanta from Tampa. I started a company called Salt Strong. Turns out Atlanta, Georgia is not exactly the saltwater capital of the country, and I needed to be down in Florida to do that. And so came down to Tampa and had our 3rd child. And I'm saying this for a reason. So 3 children, 3 different big cities, 3 different states. And what was funny, every time we'd come see my parents here in Winter Haven, on the way home, we'd be like, man, maybe we should consider Winter Haven. It's got a lot going for it. And as soon as we truly put family first and said what is absolutely best for our family and for our family unit, it was Winter Haven. And guys, this is such a special place, and I know that's why we're all here. We're here to talk about how amazing Winter Haven is, and also talk about some ways we can make it even better, and of course meet some people from Heart for Winter Haven. Now I met Brad and really got to understand what this means. I'm looking for Richard McAdams. I know he's out here somewhere. Oh, way in the back. They put Richard in the back. That's probably smart. But Richard and Marley asked us to come to this same event. I believe it was 4 years ago, and we sat same room, same tables, and I got to watch speaker after speaker talk about all the amazing things that Heart for Winter Haven was doing, and I learned a lot. I didn't know that we had children who were homeless. I didn't know about some of the issues that were out there. And I sat there and I listened to speaker after speaker, and I was like, yeah, I want to support this. I want to support it financially. I want to support it. I honestly didn't know I was going to be emceeing 4 years later. Thank you, Brad. But no, I really wanted to be a part of it. It's just such an amazing place. And I'm really a big fan of this because I'm a believer in this weakest link theory, that you're only as strong as your weakest link. I believe that applies to communities like ours. I believe it applies to companies. I believe it applies to really most things in life. And a lot of times you'll see a big company, a big city, whatever it might be, that was at the top, and then all of a sudden it dissipates, or it looks like man, how did this happen? How did they go from here to down here? Leaders get blamed a lot, but if you really go back to the origin of when things got bad, it's usually a bunch of weak links that kept compounding and compounding and compounding. They drive out some of the good people, and then of course you do get maybe a bad leader, and the whole thing just falls apart. And I was like, man, I don't want that to be us. And there was one speaker in particular. She got up here and just talked about how the Heart for Winter Haven had literally saved her life. That she was in I would just say a really tough part of life, and in and out of jail and some issues, and the Heart for Winter Haven literally changed her life. I would say saved her life is the best way I could describe it. And that was 4 years ago, and I vividly remember where she was standing and the whole thing. It was quite the moment. I just saw it right here. Yeah. So you might be wondering, all right, what is the big? If you guys want to hear a story, I mean, everyone was crying. I was like, all right, I want to be a part of this. I want to support this. That was amazing. So awesome, right here. So you might be wondering, all right, what is the big challenge here? Why are we here? Because I remember sitting there with Richard and Marley 4 years ago, and I was getting bits and pieces of it, and a lot of it is boiled in to the mission statement at the Heart for Winter Haven. If you look at it, it's pretty doggone bold. I mean, there's some big stuff in there. There's a couple that I really got my arms around, but I'll just tell you, big one is, can we alleviate all the poverty in Winter Haven? I mean, that's a big question. Do we believe that we can? Do we believe that we can bring together all of the people that we need, all the different sectors of this community to make this happen? And the big one that I got really excited about, because I do believe we can do this, and this is right there in their mission statement, do we believe that we can end child homelessness here in Winter Haven by the year 2030? That's a big question, guys. I mean, that's a really big question. So what do you guys think? I mean, do you believe that we can do it to end child homelessness here in Winter Haven by 2030? I do. And like I said, I didn't even know that we had children that were homeless. You know, sadly, you see some of the adults out there. You don't see sort of the children that are out there, but I've heard some of the numbers, and I guess the good news is we do kind of have an idea of where those numbers fall, and we have a plan in place. And how are we going to do it? Well, the Heart for Winter Haven is already working on, and we have some amazing partners. So Ben Ruch, come on up, first speaker here for the night. And Ben Ruch is the homeless liaison there at the HEARTH project. And HEARTH, man, if I get this right, I might be invited back. Homeless Education Advocates. Help me out, Ben.
Restoring the Hope.
Restoring Hope. There it is. All right, Brad, I'm still on the fence. So Ben, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
I am very glad to be here this evening. Believe it or not, part of my job is presenting throughout the community. I love presenting because I believe in what we do and I believe in our partnerships. So when I have this many people to share our vision and what we're doing here in Polk County, I'm thrilled to have that opportunity. So I am the homeless liaison for Polk County Public School. And just with a show of hands, who here has heard of the HEARTH project? Okay, who here has heard of the McKinney-Vento Act? All right. So the reason we even have a program is because of the McKinney-Vento Act. It is a federal law that was passed in 1987, and it's federal law that every public school district in our nation have someone designated as a homeless liaison. And if you have a school district as large as ours, you might have a whole team. So I'm fortunate enough to have a team of people that work with me to serve students experiencing homelessness. A student defined as homeless is a student that lacks a fixed, regular, adequate nighttime residence. Joe mentioned, you know, oftentimes when we think of homelessness, especially in our county, we might think of the people on the corners. But we don't really think about the kids. Here in Polk County, last school year, we identified 4,808 students experiencing homelessness. Now, keep in mind, that is pre-K through 12th grade, so that number does not include younger non-school age siblings or older siblings or the parents. That's 4,800 students pre-K through 12th grade. To put that in perspective, that's about essentially one student per classroom in our district. That's a lot. What that looks like primarily is students who lose housing for one reason or another and are maybe doubled up with their friends or family members, living in budget motels throughout our county, homeless shelters. Substandard housing is also considered homeless. So, I've had the chance to tour some of our substandard trailer parks in Mulberry and Fort Meade, and it's very sad, some of the conditions people, our neighbors in this community throughout Polk live in. So when we identify students experiencing homelessness, what are we doing? How are we helping? There's two really important ways that we help. The first is removing barriers for these students to even be in school. Many of our students lack, or the parents lack, what is required to enroll their children in school due to their homelessness. So a big part of our job is to remove those barriers, work with our partners within the schools, and make sure that these kids are getting enrolled into school and fully participating immediately. The next part of it is stability. Many of our students move around a lot. So a couple years ago, I had a family. They moved around 8 times in the first 2 months of school. 7 of those 8 addresses were zoned for different schools. So picture a student being in 7 different schools in 2 months. There'd be really no chance that student is going to be able to succeed. Many of our students, the most stable part of their life is their school. It's where they're getting 2 meals oftentimes. It's where they have the most stable relationships with their friends and the school administrators and teachers. So keeping them at that same school, no matter how often and where they move to, is another big part of what we do. I spent 6 years in charge of the Salvation Army Emergency Family Shelter in Lakeland. And the parents that I had the most difficult time helping were parents who did not graduate from high school. We truly see education as the key for these students to have a chance down the road to not end up in a homeless situation. There are so many things that we try to do to help our students, to help our families, to help the parents. Our focus is on providing that homeless education, that support, so that these students have a chance to succeed in school, to be promoted every year, and to get to that finish line, to graduate from high school. But many of our families, they have more unique needs than just support for their child's academics. Many of them have needs that our program just simply is not designed to help them meet. But a big part of our job is to make sure that we are never a dead end for our families, that if we can't help, we are not simply going to say we can't help, but that we can connect them with resources and other community partners within our county to meet those needs. Heart for Winter Haven and the partnership we have with Heart for Winter Haven is a perfect example of that. As I mentioned during my time with the Salvation Army, but even as homeless liaison for Polk schools, I've realized that there's a lot of underlying causes for homelessness. And again, a lot of these causes, a lot of these things are things that we're not equipped to handle. So partnering with Heart for Winter Haven is a perfect example of, when we have a family that is getting evicted maybe once a year, and maybe it's due to financial, not having that financial literacy, we can connect them to a program like Heart for Winter Haven to take those courses. Because after all, if those needs aren't addressed, it's going to happen again and again and again until they are addressed. Heart for Winter Haven has been such a good partner in that we also are able to identify students for our program through our partnership with them in collaboration with Brad and his team. I had the privilege of meeting Brad back in 2019. I had just started in this role, and I think back then, Brad, there may have been 3 or 4 people with Heart for Winter Haven, but I remember you had an office near here, and there was just a couple offices. But to see where that vision from 2019, to see where it has taken this program and all that they're doing to help folks in the community, but also help other programs within the community, is truly amazing. As someone who partners with this agency and many others regularly, I highly encourage you to support Heart for Winter Haven and the vision that they have for this community. Thank you.
Yeah, take that one down there. Thank you so much. As I mentioned, one reason I believe that we can do this in terms of getting down to no homeless kids in Winter Haven by 2030, I was asking Brad, shoot me straight, man, has anyone ever done this before? Is this like a pie in the sky type of a goal? And he says, actually, there's 14 cities, like documented cases in America that have gotten down to what they call functional zero. They've basically stopped homelessness. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, all right, if these other places can do it, we can as well. And in the boating and the fishing world, we have a saying, it's a rising tide lifts all boats, right? A lot of you have probably heard that before. And what's interesting about it, the tide, as it goes up, it lifts all the boats. And it doesn't matter if it's a brand new boat or if it's an old boat. It doesn't matter if the boat has an engine or a sail. It doesn't matter what color the boat is. It doesn't matter at all about the boat. A rising tide lifts all boats. And I believe that Heart for Winter Haven is really that catalyst, that they are the one who is rising the tide. I mean, I love seeing you here. I mean, I saw what they did in her life and other people's lives and with homelessness in general. I mean, with the kids, I did a video. Some of you guys saw that on Facebook, and from all the studying I did on homeless kids, I mean, they're essentially set up not to succeed. I mean, our own kids have enough problems studying and trying to get good grades in a nice house with a shut door. I mean, can you imagine studying one night in a car and then the next night in a hotel room with 8 other kids? I mean, I can't even imagine what that's like. And of course, going down a kind of a darker path with it, I mean, the majority of these kids, I mean, are setting themselves up for failure, which leads to more crime, which leads to some of them in gangs. And a lot of them who are homeless as kids end up being homeless adults, and they usually don't move either. It's not like there's homeless kids here saying, well, gosh, I wish I was just homeless in Arkansas, let's move there. I mean, normally they stick around because this is the only thing that they have that's truly comfortable. Like Ben said, I mean, the school is one of the only things they have comfortable. So I really love this. That's the one I'm getting behind big time. But as Ben said, there are multiple things that lead to homelessness and poverty. It's not just money all the time, but then again, money is a big piece of it. So, Deborah, you come on up here. You need some help? All right, my dear. So, Deborah is going to talk all about the financial literacy part of this. Which mic do you want? I just heard that she did radio for how many years straight?
26.
26 every single day for 3 hours?
3 hours a day.
How long are you going to talk tonight?
I have 7 minutes.
Got it. I wouldn't get in the way of that. It's all yours.
Thanks, Joe. Good evening. Well, I'm really honored to be here with you all this evening because Heart for Winter Haven is a group of very talented, hardworking people, and they have truly touched my heart. Why? Because their vision and their work resonates with me because all of us dream about the life we want to have, about success and fulfillment. We never anticipate amassing failure and loss. But life's a journey. We find ourselves in situations that we never imagined. I didn't plan to be widowed, but when it happened, I felt like I was stepping off a cliff and there was nothing under my feet. So what does a person do when they need this type of help? Well, the team at Heart for Winter Haven has resources for times just like these. They continue to equip themselves to manage broken lives and broken families, faithfully working here and mirroring many of the concepts of the journey that I have traveled. After my husband's unexpected passing, God's still small voice began to guide my next step and the one thereafter. It became a starting point, and as hard as it was an opportunity to turn over control to His will. As my 95-year-old Bible study teacher says, sometimes you just have to shut up and listen. And of course, she also teaches about obedience brings blessing and disobedience brings disaster. Well, God opened a series of doors in my life that I never considered. A book that was shared by a friend opened my eyes that Scripture teaches us about our time, our talent, our treasures. And I discovered a purpose that I had never foresaw when I wailed to a family friend that my life had disappeared. My life hosting a daily syndicated radio show about health and medicine for 26 years was very predictable, and suddenly it wasn't. I had a minor in math, but I made all the usual stupid mistakes with money. So when I began to learn what God teaches us about our work and our purpose and our finances, well, it's hard not to get excited about that. At Lift Alliance, we are committed to helping people with financial literacy. What's that? Well, just imagine if you couldn't read. I mean, communication, how could you thrive without that skill? Well, to be illiterate with finances puts people in a similar seismic disadvantage in this world. And we want to teach families to understand from God's instruction how to manage their finances with integrity, how to build a financial security, how to be generous, because generosity is a joy. So there is such a clear path for me to support Heart for Winter Haven in the work that they do here. They meet people where they are, coming alongside to teach financial literacy and job skills, working to identify the gifts that each of us are given. The work confirms that it's the Lord's purpose for our lives that prevails, and life transformation lights a fire of hope in our hearts. It also gave me the opportunity to share my late husband's story. His dad passed away shortly after they moved to Florida. He was only 39, and his mother walked an Avon route to feed him and his brother and his sister. So at age 11, he had a paper route and worked at Winn-Dixie as a bag boy to help his mother. And when he graduated from high school, he thought that he was going to go to college. Well, that was a financial impossibility. So he learned a trade, but he had a gift for numbers and knew how to work hard. So he coupled those gifts with a willingness to really think outside the box and ended up taking 2 companies public. He spent a lifetime encouraging and equipping others to pursue their goals. In fact, the CEO of one of the companies that still trades on the New York Stock Exchange was his driver for many years. But it was his prudent stewardship that inspired me to learn and share what God teaches us about money. But then my church had adopted an area housing project, and they had a neighborhood community center, and they needed summer programs. And they knew that I was interested in teaching adults at that time about financial literacy. So they asked if I would come over and teach kindergarten through 3rd grade, fun with finances. Well, I knew from Sunday mornings with 3- and 4-year-olds that amazingly, the 3-year-olds would tell me, Pap-Pap's got plastic, and we are stopping on the way home, and realized that they thought that that plastic was real. So I thought, well, maybe children of all ages would find some interest in this. So I looked at Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace Jr., other online sources, including Covenant College Chalmers Center, and we found that even kindergartners can grasp important concepts about God and money. And David Ramsey starts with integrity, because I spot some money over there, and that's not my money, but think what I could buy with it. But what if I had lost that money? Children understand the topic of integrity when it comes to our money. And when they were asked at the end of the summer, where's the best place to go when you need money, they could grasp that the answer was to work. So one thing led to another, and the amazing educators at Southeastern University now have participated and made possible elementary, middle, and high school curriculums to teach our children how to manage money for God's glory. And that leads to identifying gifts and talents, learning job skills, and that can lead to finding amazing places to work, like Brad does. Because anybody who's around Brad knows that his wheels are always going behind the scene. So that mission of Heart for Winter Haven has touched my heart. And their team is the shoe leather out in the community every day, transforming lives just as he has transformed mine. Their work recognizes that this instruction has been in Scripture the whole time, and we just needed the eyes to see it, and it has been joy-filled. So what can we do as collaborators going forward? What could they do if you joined them? How might we build on our collective talents and treasures? Collaboration is all about realizing that we are creating a constellation, not just stars. If we work together, remain humble, and listen to his leading in our lives, we will have more to offer and more energy to offer it. You know, life transformation transforms our communities. So let's collaborate and innovate together. Thank you, guys.
You need some help? Okay, great job. So, child by child, person by person, family by family, one at a time, it's tough for us. It's almost un-American, right, to kind of slow down and work on one family at a time. I remember when I first kind of got in this Heart for Winter Haven arena, and I'm like, all right, let's get this stuff done fast. And like, no, wait, it's one at a time. And there's one person that probably did that better than anyone, and it's Jesus, right? I see, Drew, how many times in the Bible does it talk about Jesus sprinting to something? It never does, right? It never said, oh, there goes Jesus outrunning all of his disciples by a country mile. No, I mean, he was very methodical, and he walked. I mean, he chose a donkey, essentially a walking donkey, instead of a horse that could have galloped or cantered or done anything faster than a walking donkey. He knew he had a limited time on this earth, and yet he chose to walk, and it was, like I said, very purposeful with it. And I believe he was leaving signs for us on how we are supposed to do this and how we are supposed to build relationships. And there's a great story in the Bible, and it's the funeral procession, and Jesus has got his disciples. There's a crowd around him, and ironically, they are walking, and they come across another group who is also coming into them, essentially almost like colliding. And he saw it was a woman who was putting her son, down. He just passed away. And, there's a lot of things Jesus could have done with that crowd, and I'm sure there was dust and commotion and people even deciding who had the right of way there. And what did he do? He stopped, and he saw her. He saw this one person, focused on her like he did in so many stories in the Bible, and went to her. He loved her. I mean, he helped her. And I thought that was just, man, it's just so powerful. Every time you read about him, he was never in a rush, and he normally was doing things one person or one family or one child at a time. And I think that leaves us a clue of what, we need to be doing here in our own town. Because let's face it, relationships, they really are. I mean, true relationships are built one person at a time. So up next, we got Tabitha and Lisa. Come on up. Got it. So Tabitha works here at Heart for Winter Haven, and she gets a lot of stuff done. And she is in charge of program director and all the grants, and primarily works with one family at a time to make an impact.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All yours.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everyone. The Irish tell a story of a man who died and went to heaven. He was standing outside the pearly gates when St. Peter walked up. The man said, "Can I come in?" St. Pete said, "First, show me your scars." Confused, the man looks at his arms and he looks back up at him and he says, "I don't have any scars." "Pity," said St. Peter. "Was there nothing worth fighting for?" We're here tonight to celebrate. We're celebrating our victories in this fight. And I'm here to tell you, in the world that we live in today, we have to fight for family stability. And that journey is hard, and we cannot go it alone. In communities where there's a greater percentage of family instability, there are greater rates of poverty, leading to higher rates of crime, as Joe mentioned, and of drug use. There are higher rates of teen pregnancy. There are higher percentages of abortions. There are higher chances of kids going to jail, of kids just dropping out of school and going to jail, of kids just going missing. That fight is hard. I know what it's like to live in a community like that because I grew up on some of the rougher sides of Winter Haven within a broken family, so I have some of that lived reality to draw upon. That experience has been helpful when understanding the pressures and, in some cases, the injustices that affect some of our clients. Many of them are just trapped in a generational cycle of poverty, and they can't get out. Breaking the cycle for families in our community, that is our fight. 9 times out of 10, when a client comes to Heart for Winter Haven, they're coming seeking some sort of service. Services such as rental assistance. Maybe they've just got an eviction, or they know that they're going to because their car broke down and they had to repair it in order to keep going to work. But that means that their rent money just became their repair money, and now they're stuck wondering how they're going to keep a roof over their kids' heads. The programs that Heart for Winter Haven offers are specifically designed to break the cycle of poverty and to help them just become aware. When these families come to our door, our team is then presented with this unique opportunity to begin building a relationship with them while simultaneously getting to peer into where they are trapped in their lives. Maybe they have a habit that's not serving them, habits that seem harmless on the surface, like Amazon. Maybe the money that they earn is just leaking out in ways that they don't even realize because they don't have the awareness. So really what we're doing on the forefront of our programs is just trying to help bud up some of that self-awareness. So I want to introduce you tonight to someone whose self-awareness grew to a motivating force that has changed not only her family's life, but inspires me and others that I work with on a daily basis when the fight feels too hard. This is Lisa. Lisa, her husband Pedro, Ricky, and Noelle, their children, they all attended our Faith and Finances class this past spring at Redeemer City. And she's kept us updated on her journey since then, and so I asked her if she would come tonight and share a little bit about what she's experienced. Would you mind sharing what was going on in your life when you decided to take the class at Heart for Winter Haven?
Sure. So at the start of COVID, like most people, I was laid off and was unemployed for about 2 years. I decided to just buckle down and finish my degree. But in that process, we had racked up a lot of debt because I wasn't working, and student loans, and we were putting things on credit cards and things like that. So the debt just piled up. And when I graduated school, I was hired by Polk, so I started working again, but we could never overcome that debt, and it was just out of control. Very stressful, hard to sleep some nights. I felt like we were always like borrowing to pay back and not really paying attention to what one hand was doing with the other kind of thing. So I was on Eventbrite one day and I saw the Heart for Winter Haven Faith and Finances class, and I had been praying for God to make a way. We needed something big because the debt was pretty big. We have 4 kids who are also in private school, so we had all that going on too. And I signed up for it. We live in Lakeland. It's about an hour drive to Redeemer Church. But I talked my husband and my family into coming with us. Mainly they were, intrigued by the free food, to be honest. But it was a great time. Just the car rides and the family together, spending that time together and coming there, it was great.
What did you learn from the class, and how has your family life and just your life in general changed since then?
Money management, number one, discipline and awareness. We did not even realize how much money we were spending in streaming services and interest rates on the credit cards and stuff like that. But the little activities that we did in the class taught us to take a step back and really look and pay attention to what we were doing to see how we could change this. And it was really remarkable for me. The biggest takeaway was your relationship with money is a reflection of your relationship with God. Because in order to be successful and to manage money, you have to have discipline and self-control, which is a fruit of the Spirit. So that was the biggest takeaway for me. I knew that if everything was out of control, then we needed to get our hearts right. We needed to sit down and say, okay, God, show us where we're going wrong. And that's ultimately what changed everything. Yeah.
You sent me an email recently saying that you guys have paid off all your debt. You are 3 months ahead on your bills.
Yes.
And just in general, are experiencing more love and just that your family dynamic has shifted in such a positive way. So I framed that and I put it up on my desk because it just helps me so much. And I thank you so much for being here tonight. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Heart for Winter Haven and for what you do. I know times get hard sometimes because you deal with so much devastation and it feels like, you know, you might not be making that much of an impact, but just one family, if it's all just for the glory of God, then it's more than enough. Yeah. And I just want to say thank you because that class really did teach us the tools to manage our money better. We're in a much better place. I had been praying before the class, you know, for the Lord to make a way, and we ended up selling our house, which gave us the money to pay off all of our debt and put money back, you know, everything we learned. So now we're ahead. Life is good. We can sleep at night, you know, and it's just been great. I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Noel. You know, their hard work and courage to change inspires the rest of us, and it really blesses our community. It reverberates through our community. And for me personally, I would say to St. Peter that, yeah, this is worth fighting for. Thank you.
Whew, that was awesome. Thank you. I believe we are going to work on these boxes. Is that right? Someone give me a yes. All right. I see my favorite lady out there. All right. So I need Brian Klepper. I'm going to need you to help me, our little Vanna White here. If you can hold this up. So every table has one of these heart boxes. And here's the goal to keep it really, really simple. We want all of these to go out those doors and into our community. Inside of it is all kinds of amazing things, and there is a letter somewhere, if someone could help me out, and it might be actually on one of the tables. I don't know if it's in the box. In the box? In the box, there is a letter. There might be someone at your table who just loves writing and has amazing penmanship and wants to write something just inspirational that you're loving on someone. This is going to go to someone in our community. It could be a homeless person, maybe someone that you see out on the streets all the time, or just someone that you run into that's just on a tough part of life and just a tough journey. We want this to inspire them, and it's just like the story of Jesus and the story earlier, just to inspire and love on them. So if you guys can, fill it out, and if the whole table wants to get involved and write something inspirational there that you love it, that would be even better. But please, please, please take those with you. You can assign it to someone if someone knows, hey, I got the right person in mind. Please, please, please take those with you. Let's get them out in our community. If you need more, I believe we have a whole lot more to give out if we need it. So up next, I need Mr. Brad, I believe, to come up here. Yep, I need you, Brad the Mayor, Brad. Yes. All yours.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of nice hearing Brad yelled all the time, and I realize it's not me. I'm always looking around and it's somebody else. But anyway, hello everybody, welcome. I bring you greetings from all the 550 employees of the city of Winter Haven, and thank you all for being here. You know it's an important event when you have two of the commissioners here. Tracy Mercer's in the back, and of course I'm here. Brian Yates wanted to be here, and he got called away at the last moment, and Mayor Pro Tem Birdsong called me today and asked me to give greetings for him. And we have our city manager, T. Michael Stavers, over here, and our growth management director, Eric Labby. So you can tell it's an important event when you have these guys in this event, in this room. So we in local government, we love to do things. We love to try to solve things, okay? Nothing makes us happier than to build a field house and conference center, or build a new park, or build tennis courts, or a splash pad. Those are great. But what really makes us happy, what really floats our boat, is the human element. What can we do to make the human element better? And of course, things like keep our lakes clean. Yeah, government can do that. Help with traffic. Who in here is sick of traffic? I know I am. We can help with that. But things like homelessness, homeless children, we really can't do that. We can talk about it and we can throw some money at it and help it, but we can't do it. But who can do it are these guys. And we at the local level have figured out that we've got an invaluable partner here with Heart for Winter Haven, with Brad, and we are very supportive of what they're doing to try to help the human element. So my task tonight was to introduce somebody who needs no introduction, okay? So what do you do in a case like that? Well, you tell a story. Recently, some of you may or may not know, Brad Beatty was recently honored with Winter Haven's highest honor, the Man of the Year, the Bankers Cup. That's worth one. Yep, that's a good thing. And I have this saying, if we all grab the rope and pull the same direction, we can move mountains. And now that all of us are in here and we're hearing all these needs, we all are grabbing the rope and pulling in the same direction. Well, I sat here at the Bankers Cup, and I had already been tipped off. I knew who was going to win, so I knew Brad was going to win. And it was kind of cool, because when you know that, you can watch the human element. And he had a table full of his peeps were over there. All of his people were there, and it was cool, and I was able to sit back and watch as they were announcing his name. And of course, you all know Brad. He was a very reluctant winner. He didn't want to come up. He was trying to deflect and give the credit to everybody else. But I watched his employees, and they were so proud, and they were so thrilled. Their faces lit up. And then that night and the next day, they were posting things on Facebook. You know Brad wouldn't be posting things on Facebook, but his employees were posting things on Facebook. So that is the mark of a really good leader, is somebody whose employees just light up when he comes in the room. They respect him, and they appreciate what he does. And that's what I have been able to witness over these last 7 or 8 years. I've been working with Brad for a long time. He's been bringing me along, helping me understand a lot of these things. So Brad, come up. I want to give you a key to the city from the mayor. So here we go. It doesn't open any banks, but key to the city. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Dantzler. I want to thank our host, Heartland Church. Y'all are great year in, year out. Winter Haven Chevrolet Center for sponsoring us. All our awesome table hosts. Thank all of you for being here, our honored guests, and celebrating with us tonight. I'd also like to thank my friends Afrin and Dayquil for allowing me to be with you tonight. What does it feel like to live in an unfinished story? Have you ever thought of your life in that way before? That you're in the middle of a journey, say, halfway up a mountain. What's the context of our lives? Not just the everyday activities, but the bigger story that we're a part of. You know, we live in a time of war, of shocking human tragedy at the hands of other humans. We live in a country that seems to be at war with itself, at least ideologically and verbally. Even the weather is wreaking havoc and bringing uncertainty. Maintaining a steady course takes some serious energy these days, right? And we're tired, weary, and anxious. Besides these general influences, we share personal challenges, our health, finances, relationships. With all this looming over our little sliver of time together on this earth, is there any reason or any room, is there any energy or evidence to hope that our world, or at least our community, could be better, more whole? Or should we shutter our eyes, keep our heads down, and get home to the TV as quickly as possible? I mean, after all, what could I do anyway? Why should we, how could we hope that things could be better? Hope. What kind of eyes do we need to see hope? Are we fools to look for it? Are we suckers to believe? No, not from where I stand. I have hope. At Heart for Winter Haven, we deal in hope. We're hope dealers. There's a reason, though, that we have hope. This has been a remarkable year for us. The words providence, abundance, and sovereignty have been signposts for us this year. When we set out years ago with this God-sized vision for the community, I honestly didn't realize we would need God-sized provision. But as we've needed some big things, He's provided them all, more than we could have imagined. Bigger and better offices almost year after year. Because we've grown, we're now a staff of over 12 full-time people. So it's grown, Ben. We have more friends in our community now, gathered and helping us, more experts to guide us. We're so thankful for those relationships. It means everything to us. For the partners and resources and for the people that help and teach us. Yet as the task grows, so does the need for replenishing our provisions and the people along the way. Yes, overcoming homelessness seems mountainous in scope. It is a mountain, but it's not the mountain you might expect. It's daunting, but not dangerous. It requires hard work and many trips to take families across. But we've been to the top, and we've seen what's on the other side. It's like Iron Mountain, under Bach Tower down to our south. It looks relatively big because it rises from a flat landscape of our comfort and ease. But the real mountain that stands in our way, the one whose shadow looms large in our minds, that stands tall like Everest, is the mountain of hopelessness that we face, of cynicism, that anything can be done about all this, of doubt, of indifference, because nothing will ever change, and that I myself could ever change anything. This is the biggest mountain we face. This shadow Mount Doom appears so tall it seemingly affects the climate. It creates a thinness in the very air we breathe. Cynicism pretends to protect us from lies, but it doesn't. Instead, it makes us numb and shuts down our hearts. We forfeit our courage and are offered apathy instead. Cynicism critiques everything, but not with love or hope, and it does not engage with evil. Oh no, it keeps us away from risk and keeps us isolated. Cynicism questions the active goodness of God on our behalf. I know it's uncomfortable to feel our unbelief, to come face to face with our fear, but we must all confront this if we want to climb. If you know this cynicism is affecting you right now, don't fear. The antidote is simple. Cynicism will respond as all shadows do. If you shine a bright enough light, it will disappear. From up here at the summit, we can see above the shadows to the very source of light, and with it shines great hope. I want you to see the hope we see every day. Hope is one of the real eternal things. It can't be conjured or faked. It has real substance and is even transferable. If we receive it, we can give it. I see its effects on the people we work with. They come in heavy-hearted and leave us with hope that life will never be the same. And you can see it in their faces. A particular piece of brokenness is healed. A door of hope has opened. Someone's listened to them. Someone is walking with them. This is grace. This keeps us climbing. Now, here are a few new developments that will help us make this climb out of homelessness easier next year. I want to share with you. First is our CDFI, which stands for Community Development Financial Institution. This is a nonprofit community loan fund that will make affordable, accessible loans available to folks who are currently underbanked and unable to benefit from leveraging credit to grow their financial future. The loan fund will make small business enterprise and personal consumer loans, as well as community development loans for workforce housing. With the support of our local banks, like South State Bank, Citizens Bank, and private investors, we'll build a stronger economic ecosystem that empowers growth for the economically marginalized and makes predatory lending a distant, unpleasant memory. Secondly, this year, we plan on launching our Center for Life Transformation. We're a year ahead of schedule. We're a year early than we expected to be. With the help of Lift Alliance, Southeastern University, and South State Bank, we'll open our doors to people who are hungry for life change and want a supportive learning community. The Heart Hub will host in-person and online classes for Jobs for Life, Faith and Finances, Reliable Renters, and other life skills that focus on people's personal, financial, employment, and spiritual growth. These will be essential in assisting families to break out of the instability cycle that Tabitha spoke about. Finally, our big focus tonight is our goal of ending homelessness for children in our community by the end of 2030. This big goal requires a big strategy and a detailed plan to see it through. Here's a quick overview. Won't get too much in the weeds. We're using proven methodologies that have already succeeded in 14 different communities and are being attempted by 100 more that have seen significant reductions in their homelessness. There's 5 primary points. First, we create a shared vision of what our community is trying to achieve. Our goal is ending childhood homelessness, so families are our target population. The first step of all of us is learning what homelessness for families looks like. Second, we assemble and build an accountable, a community-wide team, a unified system of homelessness response. This is already underway too. We have great partners with HEARTH, the Homeless Coalition of Polk County, its partner organizations, our city and county governments, and many more. And we can all play a part here. Thirdly, real-time personalized data. To love our homeless neighbors well, we have to know them. We have been building and are working on our working knowledge of these families by name and by need, because our goal is not just housing, it's stable homes. Fourth, we'll ensure our work reaches to the furthest edges of our community. There are marginalized and disenfranchised folks, even here in Winter Haven, and we want to pay special attention to them. Fifth, lastly, we'll use data-driven investments. We want to build systems of care and housing around the needs of the people that we serve. Currently, we have 1 house in place, our scholarship house, 3 houses in the works. Our part of the plan is to acquire, build 50 units of housing over the next 6 years. And with your help, we will. And we'll have all the housing inventory needed to provide homes for every child in Winter Haven. Using this strategy, the 14 communities have proven that homelessness is not inevitable. Homelessness is solvable. Just since January of this year, Heart for Winter Haven has prevented the imminent eviction and homelessness of 205 families. In addition to that, there have been 53 that were actually homeless that we have got into stable housing. So that's 258 families from January through October. The strategy works. Let me break it down further just to the kids. So we use a working number of homeless at the end of the school year of 511. That's 511 children. That equates to about 200 families with 200 stories and 200 different solutions to achieve 200 units of housing that can be turned into 200 homes. I believe we can get this done. As a community, we have the resources. The question is, do we have the will? Do we dare hope for homes for these children and their families, for neighborhoods for them to live and grow in, and for a chance to be a neighbor, to put down roots for stability, for safe places for these children so that when they grow up, they know what safe feels like? That's so important, because if you've never felt safe, how can you provide safe? And we're counting on them doing that for us in the future. I think the health of our community should be gauged by how well our children are taken care of. They're our future and our present too. If kids are well taken care of in safe and stable homes, then every opportunity for them comes alive. But if they're not, if they're moving from place to place or from car to park to hotel room, and it's chaotic, those chaotic lives are going to lead to a chaotic future. So we've got an opportunity to change the outcome of our community and what it will look like in the future. Can we believe that we're part of a community that love each other that intensely, that have a belief for one another. This is our community, Winter Haven. Are we humble enough to surrender our concerns and things that don't matter and to devote our efforts to things that do? At the end of the day, December 31st, 2030, people will feel a real sense of belonging. In Winter Haven, our children will have a home and a community that cares about them. That's what I see from where I stand tonight. This is the hope I hope you can see as well. It takes courage to believe that God is faithful and he's called us to this. It takes courage to believe that this is possible and then to join us. Become part of this story. We're all going to go on the journey and we're going to go all in. We know the way. We've made the climb. Follow us and bring someone with you. A few minutes ago, I asked you what it feels like to live in an unfinished story. See if you can relate to this. Have you ever had the experience when you're traveling somewhere and people ask where you're from? You say, Winter Haven. And what do you inevitably hear? Oh, right, near Orlando. That real bougie place with the brick streets, beautiful restaurants, shopping. Say, no. That's Winter Park, I think. Yeah, Winter Park. You say, oh, that place, the cool train downtown, the bike trails. No, Winter Garden. And they say, tell me again where you're from. Well, one day it won't be that way. One day when someone asks, where are you from? You say, Winter Haven. And they say, wow, Winter Haven. I read about you. That's the city where every child has a home. How did you do it? What will your answer be? I think it'll be similar to mine. We fought for it. We worked together with love and hope, with laughter and prayer. We have some scars from the journey to show St. Pete, but we have a bit of heaven right here on earth. Thank you so much.
My name is Bennett, and I am a pastor here in Winter Haven, and I am the last person you will hear from tonight, I promise. Thank you for your patience as we got through this program. There's so much to tell, it can't all be told, and that's part of the problem. My job tonight is to invite you, as Brad just summoned us, to participate in the work that God is doing through Heart for Winter Haven, through your financial support of the ministry. Now, of course, that's not why we're here. We're here to celebrate the stories, as we've heard, of God's faithfulness and to give thanks and to say it is the Lord's doing and it's marvelous in our eyes. But the proper way to respond to all that we've heard this evening is to consider how we might participate through our financial efforts. Historically, the liturgy of the church connected the Eucharist, the Thanksgiving, with an offering because Christian charity is always a response to God's grace, giving back to God what is rightfully his to begin with. So I want to say, let's not take ourselves too seriously tonight. We're mere instruments. The fate of Heart for Winter Haven does not rest on our shoulders. Heaven forbid that be the case. We do, however, have a cherished privilege to be a part of what God is doing in our city. And so I'm not here to beg and to plead. I'm here to give you the opportunity to maximize your joy both in this life and in the life to come by being sacrificially generous for the sake of seeing the kingdom come and God's will be done in this little part of the world that we call home. Jesus promised that whatever you give for his sake and for his gospel, you will receive back 100-fold now in this time and then in the time to come eternal life. Whatever riches you give up, you will be repaid back 100-fold, he said, in this life. Maybe not with financial return, but with joy, with peace, with purpose, with community, and then after all of that, treasure in heaven. That's what it means to be rich toward God. That's true riches. There is no better investment you and I could make. And so the question tonight is not whether Heart for Winter Haven will miss out on getting you on their team as a donor, but whether you will miss out on the privilege of becoming a partner in this wonderful strategic work in our city. You and I need this ask far more than Heart for Winter Haven does. Otherwise, we risk settling for a lesser life. And so here's what I've come to do. I'm asking you to act in the interest of your own joy by choosing to financially support this ministry. The Bible says, God loves a cheerful giver. He loves cheerful givers. That's the standard, not just giving, cheerful giving. Cheerful because the giver is overflowing with gratitude for God's generosity to them in Christ. Christianity is the good news that God, who was rich, became poor to make you and I spiritually rich. Jesus Christ traded the riches of the Father's love and the heavenly kingdom for the poverty of divine wrath upon the cross so that you and I could become God's children, being adopted into his family. I hope this doesn't come as a surprise to you for me to say, you are costly to love. If you don't believe that, just ask the people who are sitting at your table who know you. And yet, he cheerfully paid that price because you are the treasure of his heart. Doesn't that make you smile? Cheerful, also because the only fitting response to such lavish grace is lavish generosity. God is a mountain spring, not a watering trough. He is not sustained by our efforts. We do not add anything to him with our giving, so don't give because you think God needs you. Give tonight because it is the doorway to even greater joy. My family and I are monthly supporters of the ministry. We have been for many years, I think from the very beginning. And so let me just take a minute to tell you why I will be giving again this year to Heart for Winter Haven and why I think you should too. There are lots of amazing ministries and nonprofits in our city that are worthy of your financial support. We should acknowledge that. And I support a number of them, but I believe that Heart for Winter Haven is uniquely strategic and deserving of your generosity, and I have 2 reasons for that, and then I will be done, I promise. And the first reason is that I am compelled by Heart for Winter Haven's vision for our city, by the idea, as you've heard tonight, that we can make real progress against some of the biggest problems in our city, like poverty and homelessness, if we understand that they have been built on top of the ruins of broken relationships. Not just broken relationships suffered by the most vulnerable and victimized in our community, but also by the broken relationships among those who are trying to help. Churches and nonprofits, government and business who, for whatever reason, refuse to come together, laying aside their individual agendas to see something truly beautiful arise from the ashes. I've lived here for a long time, my whole life, in fact, like Joe. We do not lack in effort or desire or resources. There are so many good people in this town with good intentions. We lack the visionary leadership of a coordinated effort to bring us together as one, churches and nonprofits and business and government, towards something more than mere relief, toward the redemptification of this place to which we've been sent by God, to find our flourishing in its flourishing. And I'm grateful, so grateful to live in a city where there's help and services for those who are homeless. But I want to live in a city where no one has to be homeless. That's why I'm here. Where we attack homelessness itself and say, no more, not here. Where the unemployed or the underemployed would be given the resources and the opportunity to break the cycles of poverty and forge a better life for themselves and their children and their grandchildren. And I intend to give my life for the rest of my life to that goal because I'm compelled by Heart for Winter Haven's vision to go beyond simple short-term solutions and instead to address the underlying causes for real change. There's a reason why our local government has leaned so heavily on Brad and his team for over the last few years. No one else is thinking as big, no one else is thinking as strategically or as smart about these issues, and no one else has the proven track record of success. But the second reason that I will be giving tonight, that I'd ask you and invite you to consider as well, is that I'm giving because I have confidence in their team and their ministry plan. Trust is important when you're deciding who to partner with financially, and I trust Brad and Terry and Chuck and Tabitha and the rest of the team at Heart for Winter Haven. I know them personally as a pastor and a friend. I've sat on the back porches of their houses with them. I've listened to their dreams for my city. This team truly has a heart for Winter Haven. And they have adopted city-loving ways of doing ministry to serve the city, not to use the city for their own growth or success. They strive with a sincerity of heart. They do it with integrity from principled biblical foundations, with a strategic, proven research-based methodology, and with a track record of success, which has seen their annual budget soar to over $2 million a year. Success can be a tough thing sometimes. But here's the thing, as you've heard, we're just getting started. There's so much more to be done, and we need your help. And so, would you consider making Heart for Winter Haven a part of your regular charitable giving? Last year, our goal was 100 monthly partners. We're almost to that goal. We almost made it this past year, but we can make that happen tonight. 100 monthly partners. The long-range goal of the ministry is to be able to cover operating costs, which are about $500,000 annually through monthly partners. To do that, we would need about 200 partners monthly. But I believe there's no reason we couldn't do that tonight, too. Until we can make all that happen, though, this yearly banquet is crucial, and so the goal tonight is for us to raise that $500,000 for operating costs so that the team can put that to rest and get busy with the work. Not worried about how it's going to be funded, but to know that they can just go and get the work done because there's more work than they can get done. And we want to free them to do that. There are envelopes on your tables. Your table hosts, if you're a table host and you would grab that now and pass those out, I think they will make sure you have those. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Before you leave tonight, would you consider a financial commitment to Heart for Winter Haven? And if you feel compelled to do so, here is how you would go about that. You can fill out the contact information on the envelopes that will be in the bigger envelope that your table host is passing out to you. That's the first thing we'd ask you to do. Give us your name and your email and a phone number. And then that's very important to the team to have that information. And then you'll notice underneath that, please indicate how you would like to be contacted, whether by text or email or a phone call. It's also very important. We don't want to call you if you'd prefer that we text you. We'd want to text you if that's how you prefer to be communicated with. And then once you've done that, indicate any pledge amount you may feel led to give. If you would like to pay by cash or check tonight, you can enclose a gift in the envelope. Otherwise, you can fill out the information there and give it back to your table host. Also, on the top of the envelope, you'll see there a QR code. It's also on the inside of your program. It will direct you to where you can do all of that online if you're high tech and don't want to deal with paper and checks and that sort of thing. And so please be aware that that is there for you also. In just a minute, your table host will collect the envelopes back from everyone at your table, and then they will make sure that those get to the people they need to get to. But right now, in just a second, I'm going to pray, and as I'm praying, you'll have time to give consideration, and then we'll give you a few minutes just before we finish tonight to allow you to fill out all that information for us. Let me say again, thank you for coming tonight. You are here because you are generous. You gave up your night to be here. You gave up your time, and I am grateful for you. So thank you for loving our city and for loving this ministry that means so much to me. Let me close with a prayer from a book of prayers that has become very important to me. It's called Every Moment Holy, and it is a liturgy for the labors of a community. And so would you pray with me as we really wrap things up tonight? Pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, our lives are so small, our vision so limited, our courage so frail, our hours so fleeting. Therefore, give us grace and guidance for the journey ahead. We are gathered here because we believe that we are called together into a work we cannot yet know the fullness of. Still, we trust the voice of the one who has called us, and so we offer to you, O God, these things, our dreams, our plans, our vision. Shape them as you will, our moments and our gifts. May they be invested towards bright, eternal ends. You alone, O God, by your gracious and life-giving Spirit, have the power to knit our imperfect hearts, our weaknesses, our strengths, our stories, and our gifts to one another. Unite your people and multiply our meager offerings, O Lord, that all might resound to your glory. May our acts of service in creation, frail and wanting as they are, be met and multiplied by the mysterious workings of your Spirit, who weaves all things together towards a redemption more good and glorious than we have yet eyes to see or courage to hope for. May our love and our labors now echo your love and your labors, O Lord. Let all that we do here tonight and in the days to come, in these brief lives, in this our brief moment of love, in this work you have ordained for this community, flower in winsome and beautiful foretastes of greater glories yet to come. O Spirit of God, now shape our hearts. O Spirit of God, now guide our hands. O Spirit of God, now build your kingdom among us. And all God's people said, amen. God bless you. Thank you. Take a minute, and then Joe's going to come and close us out, I think.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out here tonight. Thank you so much for all the generosity. As I said, my wife Lauren and I came here 4 years ago, and we're just blown away with everything that was happening here with Heart for Winter Haven in our community. And we donated and continue to keep going up every single year. And I look at it as not just so much what we're doing for ourselves in this moment. It's really about even the kids and the grandkids, so that when maybe this vortex called Winter Haven sucks our kids and grandkids back in, that that's just as amazing for them as it is for us. So thank you guys so much. If you do get a survey about the speakers were amazing. MC, remember, was okay. I'll be completely fine with that. Appreciate you guys. Love you all. And our amazing choir is going to end us out. Woo!